The curse of Oak Island has haunted humanity for centuries. Different minds have created different speculations, and some of them have even found physical evidence. So today, I am bringing you 3 wildest treasure stories about the island. The curse began to find different backings after the legend of Captain Kidd became a folklore, a notorious pirate who is rumored to have buried treasure on Oak Island. It is said that he placed a curse on the treasure to protect it from being discovered. Fast forward to 2023, June 7th, 2023. The Lagena brothers made a significant discovery in their search for the Oak Island treasure with a new scanning tool called ground-penetrating radar. They were excavating in Smith's Cove, an area of the island believed to be the treasure's location, when they found a large stone slab buried 10 feet under the ground with strange symbols of 1 inch carved into it. The slab weighs around 1,000 pounds and is composed of limestone and about 3 feet broad, 2 feet tall, and 6 inches thick. The Lagena brothers sought professional aid for interpretation because they thought the symbols on the slab had some significance despite being unintelligible. Sadly, thus far, their efforts haven't been fruitful. This is the first significant discovery in the area since they started looking in 2015. The brothers are relentlessly digging in the region in the hopes of finding further leads, since they are persuaded that the slab may contain a hint as to the whereabouts of the riches. Besides the stone slab, they have also discovered several other priceless things at Smith's Cove, including coins, wooden planks, and beams, among other artifacts, over the years. But that's not all. The brothers claim that these discoveries show a sophisticated flood control mechanism was in place to safeguard the jewels, bringing them one step closer to finding the treasure buried on Oak Island. And this time, they go on many different terrain and paths. On June 14th, 2023, the team discovered a broken piece of old metal, adding more confusion in this decade-old treasure hunt. The metal has a diameter of approximately 1 inch and is about 1/2 inch thick. It is made of a copper alloy and has an illegible raised pattern on one side that shows a face or human form. According to the brothers, this metal object was part of a coin made in the 17th century, which is a significant hint that Oak Island's treasures were hidden there then. Although unclear, the experts think it to be a chunk of money. Who knows? On top of that, they struggle to explain the meaning of the coin's design. This metal chunk is the second most significant discovery in the area, which signifies yet another crucial development in the ongoing search for Oak Island's treasures. The lads continue to scan the environment intently in search of fresh cues. To them, the design appeared as an ambiguous face of a human. The metal item that was unexpectedly found 12 feet below the surface weighs barely 0.5 ounces. Moving on with the discoveries, on June 21st, 2023, the Lagena brothers made another important discovery, an unusual little piece of wood. It was initially built from oak, which has a remarkable texture. According to the Lagena brothers, the wood could have come from a ship buried on Oak Island in the distant past. And this finding in particular is crucial because it adds evidence suggesting a ship buried the wealth on Oak Island, whereas it implies that precious cargo like gold or silver may have been carried by the ship. In an interview, the crew members said the piece of wood was discovered 15 feet below the ground's surface. Days after days, they were excavating in Smith's Cove on the island, which is supposed to be where the treasure is hidden, when they came upon a little ceramic shard that they believed to be from a jug. The ceramic object is 2 inches in diameter and 0.5 inches thick. It was formed of a substance that mimics clay and has a particular pattern on one side. In the pattern, a flower or plant was observed. The Lagena brothers claim the ceramic piece may have come from a jug used to transport wine or other liquids. This would prove that humans were residing on Oak Island in the 17th century, since it would show where the treasure could be buried. They have made several fascinating discoveries in their search, including several Roman artifacts. A lead sword is among the most important Roman artifacts that the Lagena brothers unearthed. And, to everyone's surprise, Smith's Cove is where the sword was located. The sword is assumed to have been manufactured in Italy and dates to the 1st or 2nd century AD, which is ornamented with several motifs, including a dolphin and a trident, and it is in generally good shape. The pottery fragment is another remarkable Roman artifact that the Lagena brothers unearthed. It was discovered in the island's Money Pit region, and supposed to have been produced in France and dates to the 4th or 5th century AD. On the other hand, it was decorated with symbols, including a cross and a sundial. The brothers discovered several other Roman artifacts on Oak Island beside the lead sword and the piece of pottery. Coins, nails, and jewelry are some of these relics. Some people think that Oak Island was previously visited by Roman explorers because of the existence of these Roman articles. A reality television series called The Curse of Oak Island follows the hunt for riches on Oak Island. The brothers Rick and Marty Lagena, who have been looking for the loot for more than 10 years, are followed throughout the series. The Lagena brothers and their gang continued their hunt for riches on the mysterious island in the most recent episode of The Curse of Oak Island, picking up where the previous one left off. The crew concentrated on the marsh in this episode because it was the location of several intriguing artifacts they had previously discovered, including a lead cross and a stone with the Latin inscription 70 feet below. They were able to locate several abnormalities in the swamp using a range of techniques, including sonar and ground-penetrating radar, which they suspect might represent the remnants of buried buildings. One of the most intriguing oddities is a big rectangular object around 70 feet below the surface. The crew is excited to dig into this to see what they uncover, since they think it may be a treasure box. The crew must not harm what they seek, since the marsh is challenging and dangerous. Eventually, they excavated a tiny area of the item, but could not see what was within. In a later episode, they will have to go back to the swamp to carry on their hunt. Yet, the crew made modest strides on other parts of the island. They started digging a new shaft close to the marsh and continued to drill in the money pit location. The crew made some progress in their hunt for riches, even though they made no significant finds in this episode. They are optimistic that the forthcoming episodes will include something important. As more proof that Oak Island has long been the location of covert operations, or more precisely, clichés, the presence of a nearby treasure, the researchers also discovered traces of earlier human activity. That's not it, though. The real deal was the map they found on the island, which dated back to 1647. It was a French copy, with the labels hatch, valve, and anchor, suggested significant connections. In particular, it suggested that the money may have come from Africa, raising the intrigue around Oak Island. The brothers are convinced this map will point them toward their lost money. The series has followed their journey for over a decade, and it will be interesting to see if they can finally solve the mystery. The story goes that, in 1795, while on an adventure on the island, a group of boys around the age of 13 discovered a dip in the earth. They began digging since they believed it to be a fake hole, and as they dug, they found multiple layers of wood and other things. Yet, a mysterious flood stopped them in their tracks, filling the hole with water and blocking any further excavation. As soon as word of the discovery spread, treasure seekers from all over the world flocked to Oak Island to look for the loot. The Onslow Company, a group of financiers, organized the first orderly excavation of the Money Pit in the year 1803. This specific team was able to dig down to a depth of 90 feet before the flooding, which happened in the pit once more, hampered their attempts. Meanwhile, the excavations were permanently halted in 1909 as the Oak Island Treasure Company went out of business. Since then, several other parties have tried to find the treasure buried on Oak Island, but the riddle of the Money Pit has remained unsolved to this day. Oak Island's mystery never ceases to astound us. But what precisely? Let's find out. John Stemmer supports the official Quest of Oak Island website, where you can read a fascinating article about this region. Laird, the expert, believes the ring of stones they discovered could be the foundation of a circular structure. Interesting, yes? When investigating the structure of Lot 5 in minute detail, concentric rings of stones are visible from approximately 100 feet away from the shore. An insightful contributor by the name of Barbara Kopak made an insightful point. She hypothesized that this structure was a kiln, possibly a lime kiln. Its design resembles an ancient Roman furnace discovered in Europe. It is important to observe that Barbara's experience as an architectural artist enabled her to make this intriguing connection. Its proximity to the shore enhances its attractiveness. John Stemmer and the Quest of Oak Island Facebook page utilized the incredible Muon drone to capture photographs. When considering the likelihood that it is a kiln, exciting possibilities emerge. Barbara Kopach's intriguing observation connects the connections, suggesting that this structure may have been a pipe-making kiln. The possibility that it was used to produce pipes piqued people's interest. Given the rumors of a flood tunnel system and the existence of a hydraulic mechanism, pipes would have been required for elevating and lowering the vault. Historiographically, the location of a kiln is crucial. Typically, they were situated away from communities to avoid disturbing residents with pollution. Lot 5 meets this requirement perfectly. It is also essential to be close to water and fuel sources. Fortunately, Oak Island provides both abundant wood for fuel and simple access to water for dilution of clay. It must be stressed that this is all conjecture, but it is intriguing to consider the possibility that Oak Island structures are related to ancient furnaces. In the slideshow, you can view a variety of kiln structures, including European and Roman-era examples. Are you not in agreement that the similarities are quite striking? Next, we will consider the shape. The notion that it might be a kiln was predominantly prompted by its appearance. Note the manner in which it expands. This may imply that there is more to learn than we are currently aware of. The debris-covered ring is clearly visible in a photograph. Now, this detritus could serve as part of the foundation, similar to the stone wall on Lot 26. Alternately, filling in with detritus could be the result of a construction project on Oak Island. If they had been digging tunnels, they would have needed to dispose of a great quantity of waste, and this area would have been ideal. When examining another image of a Roman kiln, be mindful of how far back it extends. Please take note of the large number of small fragments arranged in long rows to form concentric rings, which resembles what we observe on Oak Island. If this is a kiln, it may resemble this type, and where they are currently excavating may be the primary chamber. Remember how, in one of the most recent episodes of Curse of Oak Island, they made a hollow sound by striking a boulder at the bottom of the hole. They may still be required to reach the firebox area. Those fragments with the hollow sound could be protecting the fireplace after all. Currently, we are still determining how the temporary superstructure was constructed. It could have been built with rocks or something entirely distinct. However, this is not the only event that occurred at Oak Island. Astonished that the entire world. There is still more. Both the stone wall on Lot 26 and the pine tar furnace on Lot 15 contained fragments of charcoal. That indicates the presence of fire. They also discovered a piece of pottery, which provides additional insight into what the object may be. The images depict numerous kiln structures discovered by the University of York throughout Europe. They date back to the Roman era, proving that this technology is not new. Immediately, focus on the kiln on Lot 5. Observing the proximity to the water is intriguing. Regardless, let's dissect this and have some fun. First, visualize the mysterious setting in which we find ourselves. This location may be optimal for a covert operation. What if we told you a kiln could be hidden there? A kiln indeed. Consider alternative applications for this kiln before imagining a group of potters creating exquisite pottery. Our minds are racing and we are thinking about pipelines. Pipes indeed. This excellent hypothesis proposes Oak Island may contain a system of flood tunnels. What is this then? This is supported by evidence such as the valve and the cavity beneath the trapdoor. In this case, things are becoming increasingly intriguing. Perhaps intelligent infrastructure is used to construct the underground tunnels. They may be developing a hydraulic system to control the flow of water. However implausible it may seem, let's experiment with it anyway. It is prudent to use pipelines instead of open tunnels. The island's rugged terrain was only marginally suitable for tunneling. If water were to flow through certain areas, they might erode or collapse. Why then not utilize pipes to maintain a constant flow without endangering a collapse? At this point, things become even more pleasurable. Let's investigate the origins of pottery, my companion. We are discussing a technique that has existed since Roman times. Clay pipes. Before, these pipelines were formed around a wooden structure, but it was difficult to connect them seamlessly. They ingeniously employed the potter's wheel, which originated in ancient Samaria around 3500 BCE. Incredible, right? Nevertheless, there's more. We should talk about glazing. You know, the protective layer that prevents water from permeating clay and causing damage to ceramics. Roman glazing techniques were extraordinarily inventive. They utilized salt, lead and tin, invented later, to create an impregnable, complex covering. At this point, things begin to become somewhat chaotic. A pottery instructor asserts that adding saline or ocean water to clay causes its surface to bloom. The kiln firing process produces a beautiful salt patina. Can you imagine the ancient Romans using ocean water to produce these beautiful orange peel textured pipes? Mind-blowing. Let's discuss the pottery object discovered by Laird on the island. Laird believes it dates from the first half of the 18th century, but who knows? It could, after all, be a conduit. What is it? Though it does not appear to be a conventional straight pipe. Not every conduit needs to be straight. This component may be included in a conduit system with a radius of 12 to 14 inches. What is this then? Similar to the redware discovered on Oak Island, this object was crafted from clay. It could be a piece of the puzzle. Let us introduce you to the Romans once more. They were skilled at installing pipelines. Instead of using a single large conduit, they created these intricate pipelines comprised of numerous smaller pipes. It enabled them to regulate water flow and pressure adequately. A unique archaeological image of a Roman pipe reveals the sophistication and complexity of their systems. What is the future? Oak Island may have had a comparable system. You are in store for one more astounding realization. Are you still familiar with the Great Quadrilateral? Recently, essentials have begun to appear in unexpected places. Additionally, they were discovered at the Israeli castle of Belvoir. Are you serious? These nails, found throughout Notre Dame, date to the 1160s and were used to secure stones together during construction. Discuss prehistoric engineering techniques. Then, what does this signify for Oak Island? Well, it's all speculation. We are merely investigating the options for fun. But here's a wild idea. What if these materials discovered on Oak Island were used in an architectural marvel? They may have been part of an intricate structure that required precise stone binding. What is the future? Everything fits into the Oak Island arrangement. Let's mention the stone wall they discovered before we conclude. Even though it is not a wall in the traditional sense, it resembles a circle of pebbles in that it is filled with trash. What is this then? Underneath it, charcoal was discovered. There is still a great deal of data to locate and integrate. Subscribing to the channel will provide you with access to more blues from the world of mysteries. As we conclude our investigation of Oak Island's secrets, it is important to note that all hypotheses remain speculative. However, the investigation of potential connections between historic hydraulic systems, Roman engineering, and ancient furnaces adds an exciting dimension of intrigue. As the mission continues, more and more Oak Island mysteries are revealed. We will meet you there in a minute if you click on the video links that appear to find out what discoveries by explorers astonished the entire globe. Researchers discovered something incredible in the Oak Island money pit. Oak Island is a sequestered location off the south coast of Nova Scotia, and for generations, people have been fascinated by the island. Finally, researchers discovered something unbelievable in the Oak Island money pit. A large number of academics, scientists, and explorers are intrigued by the possibility of uncovering the mysteries buried beneath the island's surface. It may seem like an exciting adventure on a real-life treasure island, but bear in mind that many individuals have risked their entire fortunes in an attempt to make a fortune on this island. Some unfortunate individuals have even lost their lives in the process, only to have nothing to show for it in the end. The entrance of the Lagena brothers, who have joined the long list of treasure hunters attempting to solve the island's mysteries, has brought about a recent change in the status quo. The Lagena brothers are confident that they possess the skills necessary to locate the fabled treasure said to be buried on Oak Island, and ultimately, these researchers discovered something in the Oak Island money pit that you won't believe. Join us as we observe them as they investigate this 200-year-old enigma, and together we will determine if there is, in fact, hidden wealth on the island. Throughout the course of their expedition, they stumble upon some astounding discoveries that will astound you. The Lagena brothers have devoted a substantial portion of their careers to locating buried wealth. It is understandable why anyone would be captivated by the prospect of unearthing centuries-old treasure buried by someone in the past. Unfortunately, similar to a large number of other visitors to the island, the brothers initially encountered difficulties and failed in their endeavors. Rick and Marty were fortunate in that their treasure hunting efforts did not go unnoticed. The A&E network became aware of the brothers' work. and recognizing the potential for a compelling series about treasure hunters investigating Oak Island, decided to collaborate with them on a series titled The Curse of Oak Island. It's quite eerie, wouldn't you say? Thanks to their cooperation with the television network, the brothers were able to recover the funds that they had previously spent on their travels to the island. Their research activities attained an entirely new level after receiving financial support from the network and other investors. It is essential to note, however, that despite the influx of wealth, the Lagena brothers and their new investors did not make any noteworthy discoveries during the first 2 seasons of their program. This is something that must be recognized. Despite this, they demonstrated an admirable amount of patience, which is commendable because, as the saying goes, patience is a virtue. After 3 seasons of searching, the explorers on Oak Island finally made significant discoveries that aroused their curiosity. The discovery of a ceremonial Roman sword suggested that Roman soldiers may have visited Oak Island before Christopher Columbus. This major accomplishment opened a floodgate of opportunities for the crew, and as they diligently combed the island for riches, they discovered a wide variety of artifacts and antiquities. A handcrafted replica of a map of France was one of their discoveries, which aroused their interest in the artifact. In order to conduct the analysis, they enlisted the assistance of historian and maritime expert Zena Halpern. After determining that the map was created in 1647, Halpern theorized that the resources it indicated may have originated in Africa. During the course of their investigation, the Lagena brothers and the rest of their crew discovered fragments of a book, which further investigation revealed to be a bookbinder. After making this discovery, the brothers began to contemplate the possibility that they had not yet discovered additional buried manuscripts on the island. A fragment of parchment made from animal skin was yet another fascinating artifact discovered. William Chappell and Frederick Blair, explorers of Oak Island, have been hypothesized to be involved. In the 15th century, when the document was created, only the wealthy could afford to dispatch mail. In addition, the explorers discovered a number of gold coins near a pit that became known as the Money Pit. This location sparked the island's obsession with treasure that has persisted for the past 2 centuries. Unfortunately, a recurring issue with flooding halted Chappell and Blair's treasure hunting expedition when the Money Pit became submerged in water, preventing them from making any further progress. After Chappell and Blair led the way, many others attempted to find treasure on Oak Island, but unfortunately none were successful. Chappell and Blair were only the beginning of a long line of people who followed in their footsteps. The issue of where the loot was hidden evaded even President Roosevelt, despite his best efforts. Despite numerous abortive attempts, the search for treasure on the island continued indefinitely. This was due to the efforts of individuals like Irwin Hamilton, who unearthed artifacts that were not typical of the area. It was evident that Rick and Marty had a challenging mission ahead of them. They were fortunate to have a competent and capable team supporting them. Craig Tester, who had been Marty's college flatmate, joined their ranks, as did Dan Blankenship and his son David, all of whom were experts in their respective disciplines. Dan Blankenship, for instance, was a renowned hunter who left his contracting business to investigate the enigmatic island. Since the Lagena siblings had been treasure hunting since they were young children, it was not surprising that they were both exceptionally skilled at the activity. As soon as Ricky, then 10 years old, stumbled upon a boulder and became intrigued by the concept of unearthing buried treasure, their passion for treasure seeking was ignited. Even though their first attempt to search the boulder for treasure failed, it set them on a path that would lead them to spend the remainder of their lives engaging in similar adventures. As time passed, they gained a deeper understanding of the tales and legends surrounding Oak Island, which strengthened their resolve to investigate the island's mysteries further. The brothers Lagena and Dan Blankenship each purchased 1/2 of the stock in Oak Island tours in order to realize their dream of discovering the buried treasure and seizing it for themselves. This gang appears to be destined to follow in the footsteps of their former commander, Daniel McGinnis. McGinnis discovered a depression in the ground on Oak Island in 1796, prompting him to initiate his own search for wealth on the island. They and their associates spent approximately 10 years excavating the pit, but none of their efforts bore fruit. In the end, the Onslow Company was the one to assume responsibility for excavating the money grave, but they too were disappointed. Discovering only a stone instrument containing writing, It took over a century to translate the inscription on the stone tablet, which is believed to read, 40 feet below, 2 million pounds are buried. Others relied on conjecture, such as Marie Antoinette hiding her wealth prior to her execution, or William Shakespeare hiding his fortune and unpublished works, while others used this as evidence to infer that there could be treasure on the island. Despite this, these hypotheses have not been confirmed because no treasure has been found. Since the beginning of excavation on the island, individuals such as the Lagena brothers have been responsible for the discovery of hundreds, if not thousands, of artifacts. The Lagenas made a remarkable discovery when they unearthed the bones of two distinct individuals. The fact that one set of bones belonged to a person of Middle Eastern ancestry and the other to a person of European ancestry added another layer of enigma to the island's history. The remains were discovered on opposing sides of the island. The discovery of bones belonging to individuals of Middle Eastern and European descent led to the conclusion that these men may have been members of the Knights Templar. Gary Drayton, an additional member of the Lagena team known as the metal-finding ninja, discovered a medieval-era cross and a stone with Greek letters. After analyzing the relics, Zena Halpern argued that they may be associated with Tannin, the Phoenician deity of fertility. These discoveries appeared to support the hypothesis that the Knights Templar had visited the island. However, after analyzing the artifacts, Zena Halpern hypothesized that they were associated with Tannin. When the cross's lead covering was removed, it was discovered to be made of gold, leading some to presume it was used to smuggle gold. In addition, some individuals believed the cross may have been used to transport gold. The Lagena brothers believed that their discoveries were more important than those of their contemporaries. Are you currently appreciating this video? Be careful to subscribe and enable post notifications to be notified immediately when a new post is published. In spite of this, they remained enthusiastic about continuing their search for treasure on Oak Island, which was fueled in part by their desire to uncover the island's mysteries as they proceeded. They made additional discoveries, including the discovery of various types of stone tablets in the money pit. Initially, the tablets were considered to be nothing more than ordinary artifacts, but after further investigation, it became apparent that they could represent evidence of Viking occupation of the island. Oak Island exploration has been a phenomenal experience for the Lagena brothers. Through their partnership with the television network, they were able to achieve financial success despite not discovering any genuine treasures. As a consequence of the show, they now own 50% of the island and have become billionaires. They remain committed to their work in the hopes that one day, with a little luck, they will find the treasure chests buried somewhere beneath Oak Island. Researchers on the team have just discovered something no one was meant to see. Scientists have at last disclosed what lies at the bottom of the Oak Island money grave. It's similar to a traditional tale about concealed riches and traps, but with a twist. Despite the fact that we know precisely where the treasure is concealed, recovering it has proven to be an arduous task. In most instances, the greatest difficulty in locating buried treasure is in locating it. In this case, however, it is retrieving it that poses the greatest challenge. Numerous individuals have theorized and attempted to solve this issue, but no one has yet been successful. The mystery encircling Oak Island and its fabled lost wealth has attracted countless treasure hunters for over 2 centuries. But scientists have now revealed what is at the bottom of the Oak Island money pit. Despite the efforts of numerous people, including notable figures such as Franklin D. Roosevelt, Errol Flynn, and John Wayne, the treasure remains stubbornly buried in the earth, resulting in the deaths of several people. In 1795, a man named Daniel McGinnis discovered a strange circular depression on an uninhabited island off the coast of Nova Scotia. McGinnis, a fan of the genre, decided to investigate the depression after hearing rumors that Captain Kidd had buried 2 million pounds of treasure east of Boston. The following day, McGinnis and his companions returned to the site and began excavating. Initially, the ground was very soft, but after roughly 3 meters, they struck something solid. It was a piece of oak, not a hoard of gold. Initially, this did not appear to be much, but as the men delved deeper, they discovered another plank, and then another. Along the sidewalls of the trench they were excavating, they also observed what appeared to be pick and shovel marks. Someone excavated and then filled in the trench many years ago. Due to the island's size and isolation, it is highly unlikely that someone dug such a large and deep grave for any purpose other than to conceal something of great value. The search for the missing treasure of Captain Kidd had officially begun. However, despite vertically descending the equivalent of 3 stories, no treasure was discovered. The workers ran out of resources, time, equipment, and people, and gave up constructing the massive hole in the earth, henceforth referred to as the Money Pit. The Money Pit on Oak Island had attracted treasure hunters from all over the world, despite the fact that excavation had been abandoned following a failed initial attempt. In 1802, 30 men from the neighboring hamlet of Onslaught arrived with shovels and pickaxes and began excavating the ditch, making it deeper than it had been previously. Approximately 27 meters in depth, they discovered a large stone engraved with a cipher that, when deciphered, would disclose a hidden message, as well as wooden platforms spaced at 3-meter intervals. 10 feet down, 2 million pounds are concealed. However, disaster struck just as it appeared that Captain Kidd's treasure had been found. The Onslaught personnel returned to the Money Pit one morning to discover that it had been completely submerged by 18 meters of water. Due to this strange and unanticipated event, the extracted shaft is now useless and cannot be used for further excavation. The Onslaught's troops, undeterred by their defeats, resolved to dig a shaft parallel to the Money Pit in order to access the treasure from the side. The fact that the second shaft also filled rendered their efforts futile and compelled them to abandon their goal. Another determined search for Captain Kidd's concealed treasure did not commence for nearly 50 years. In 1849, a team from Toro arrived and redigged the 2 holes that the Onslaught crew had dug. The water filled the openings once more, rendering their efforts futile. The Toro firm observed an anomaly that the Onslaught crew did not notice. A portion of the water in the pits was mildly salty, and its level appeared to vary with the tide. This suggested that seawater was finding its way into the Money Pit, which was located approximately 40 meters inland. Following a search of the island's shores, the crew discovered the beginning of a small canal that led to the Money Pit, which was located deep below. This was the first indication of the odd, unexplainable events that would plague the search for Captain Kidd's wealth. The treasure hunters were determined to obtain Captain Kidd's loot, but the discovery of the mined flood system was a significant setback. Despite the apparent value of whatever was at the bottom of the hole, accessing it was exceedingly difficult due to the elaborate security measures in place. The Toro crew dug numerous shafts to approach the pit from a variety of directions, but their efforts were frequently thwarted by water and sudden cave-ins. They were ultimately compelled to abandon their search for the treasure, forever altering the allure of Oak Island. Since then, swarms of people have flocked to Oak Island in the hopes of excavating the Money Pit's buried riches. Over the past 170 years, countless explorers have flocked to Oak Island in quest of the rumored legendary treasure buried at the bottom of the Money Pit. Some have attempted to avoid the complex booby traps in the flood tunnels, while others have dug ditches on other parts of the island, frequently at the cost of human life and spawning fanciful rumors of a curse. In spite of the development of ever more advanced instruments, such as steam pumps in the 1860s and divers in 1909, treasure hunters have attempted and failed throughout history. Even though they sent apparatus for digging and divers to the island in 1909, the old gold salvage gang was unable to break Oak Island's curse. Franklin Delano Roosevelt, the future president of the United States, is rumored to have been a member of the original Gold Savage group and to have been fascinated by its mystery throughout his entire existence. Errol Flynn and John Wayne, 2 of Hollywood's greatest stars of the 1930s, donated money to multiple expeditions. According to legend, King George VI of England instructed 2 treasure hunters to submit their finds. Despite numerous searches, the treasures of Oak Island have evaded discovery. Rick and Marty Lagena, brothers who were filming their treasure search on Oak Island for the History Channel, were in charge. The fact that this is the 9th season of the program could be indicative of how successful their quest has been thus far. The siblings have unearthed a variety of intriguing artifacts, such as money, weapons, and jewelry, but they have yet to find Captain Kidd's legendary loot. The longer one searches without discovering the treasure, the more reasonable it becomes to question its very existence. The story should be regarded as a myth, despite the fact that many people have searched for his riches. The discovery of evidence that Daniel McGinnis had discovered the Money Pit in the 1790s did not occur until 1857. In addition, the account differs based on the cited source. There is little evidence to suggest that Captain Kidd concealed valuables on Oak Island, and the popular conception of pirates is wholly fictitious. Walking the plank and other stereotypes, such as parrots and prosthetic legs, are not supported by substantial evidence. The portrayal of Robin Newton as Long John Silver in the 1950 film adaptation of Treasure Island also contributed to the mythologizing of the infamous pirate incident. Contrary to conventional belief, there is only one well-documented case of a pirate actually burying treasure, and it wasn't them. Captain William Kidd. Be sure to stay informed and subscribe for more information on recent discoveries and findings. On Gardner Island, 500 miles away, Kidd buried his wealth, which was discovered less than a year later and used as evidence in his trial and execution. However, it is also conceivable that Kidd hid treasure on Oak Island. Why would Kidd, or any pirate for that matter, go through the trouble of excavating a 30-meter deep booby-trapped pit to conceal treasure if the objective was merely to keep anything valuable secure? A few meters would have sufficed, correct? Even if Kidd did bury wealth on Oak Island, it is likely lost forever due to the inability of modern technology, such as ground-penetrating radar, to discover it. In 1995, the Woods Hole Oceanographic Institution conducted a scientific investigation of Oak Island to locate any concealed treasure. As a result of their investigation, the crew came to the disappointing conclusion that the fabled inundation of the money pit was not the result of a complex trap, but rather the result of natural geological processes on the island. In Nova Scotia, near Oak Island, there are sinkholes that share some characteristics with the original money pit. Even if the cryptography stones and oak platforms discovered in the money pit appear to disprove this theory, it is important to note that many of these critical pieces of evidence have not vanished despite having been a part of the Oak Island legend for more than a century. Scientists are astounded by a startling new discovery, which can be viewed by clicking the following video.